The story that I remember is, I think, in the 1914s in World War I, where there was like the trench wars and then the two sides coming together over Christmas just to put down their arms and play a game together, was the idea of reconciliation that I had in mind. But I think you're talking about something a little bit more nuanced than that. Is that right?
Can I talk about that 1914 example?
Yeah, sure.
I
Please.
really dislike this story. It's used so much, and forgive me, quite lazily, as a way of saying football is this wonderful thing that brings people together. The actual story of that truce is of a very local, very short-lived reconciliation and the same people going back to kill each other the next day. It had no impact on the long term of those people's lives. It was a momentary blip. What I see sport doing today is that it has an incredible ability to be used for things that help education, help with conflict resolution, to help with gender equality, but it takes a lot of work. You can't just give a football and suddenly everything's fine. So I don't actually like that story, because for me, it actually represents how sports shouldn't be used as a momentary thing. It takes a lot of work to use football for the right reasons around the world. I don't think football can necessarily save the world, and I don't think it necessarily brings people together unless it's used alongside many other things. I always call this the Sepp Blatter model for football, which is give people a football and everyone will be okay and everyone will come together and we'll sing Kumbaya around the campfire. But actually, whilst football can bring people together at a local level, it's much more important about understanding and having empathy with other people more than this vision of bringing the world together. That's just my view. Other people may disagree.
No, it's great. I love that you push back on it. And I'm sure this is also from experience in the work that you've done at GoalClick. So I think this is a great segue to dive a little bit deeper and some examples of how, when used properly, sports can help with education, conflict resolution, and gender equality. Do you have a couple examples or a couple favorites that you guys have personally participated in and what that looks like?
Definitely. And I will attempt to pick out some of the best ones. We have a lot of time for an organization that we work with called Spirit of Soccer, which operates in Iraq and many other countries wherever there are landmines, because ultimately it's an education charity that uses football to educate children on the dangers of landmines and explosives. We worked with them in 2014 in northern Iraq, which was the height of Islamic State control in the region. And one of their coaches was our storyteller, our photographer. We had to keep him anonymous for obvious reasons, as they were operating less than 30 miles from Islamic State controlled territory. Many of the coaches were under occupation by ISIS at the time, but the photos, which show boys and girls playing football and being educated around the dangers of explosives of war, are incredibly powerful, especially when you see women in hijabs coaching young boys and set within the context of what was going on at the time. I think the photography is extremely powerful and the words behind it are also extra powerful. So that's one that definitely stands out. Our first ever story came from Sierra Leone, from the National Amputee Football Association of the country. Our first ever photographer was a church minister called Pastor Abraham Bangura, who was a local minister and coach of the Amputee Football Association. And his photos were just so incredibly raw, powerful, and intimate of the team playing on a beach in Freetown, Sierra Leone. We always ask the storyteller to write their own story behind the photos. And when Abraham describes football as a way to help reintegrate amputees into Sierra Leone society, it's very powerful. And the way it's used to then educate them and give them skills, it's not just football for football's sake. It's the way of bringing people back into society. So the stories that tend to stand out for me are when you see football.
Alrighty, friends, if you liked what you heard in that little snippet and you feel inspired, make sure to subscribe right here on YouTube and head over onto your favorite podcast player to look for the Impact Everywhere podcast to find more inspirational guests just like this every single week. My name is Benjamin Von Wong, and I hope you have a wonderful week. Stay positive, because impact is everywhere.